DJ Scream, heavy in the streets.
We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood. We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood.
Hood rich.
Get it out the mud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And we are back. We are back with some more appetizers for you. And I'm talking UFC 322 Della Maddalena versus Makhachev. So that's Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, UFC 322, and that's also known as and branded as V-Chain UFC 222. And so this card just happened there on November 15th. November 15th, 2025 at the Madison Square Garden Arena, and then New York City, New York, United States, with an attendance of 20,664 and a total gate of 13.6 million. So UFC, like normal when it comes to the gates and the total gates and attendance, they're usually doing pretty good. But before we get too deep into this card here, because there's the prelims for this card were actually pretty good. I want to go over that real quick before we get into like the main card and then of course the performance bonuses and things like that. But before we get into that, we're getting into all the fun that we have coming up. I just want to shout out a new subscriber. That's when I talk about new subscribers or people that comment or like or share or follow or do anything. Just one a month, one here, one there. I mean, it keeps me going. So I just want to shout out a new subscriber. So we have Na Kuma. I just want to shout you out. I appreciate you subscribing. I think you maybe threw down a like there on the past podcast, the pre-fight podcast, the prediction show for the UFC 322, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. But yeah, it's the likes, the followings, the subscribers. I like even comments. It keeps me going. It keeps me engaged with the listeners. So yeah, I just want to shout Nakuma. I just want to shout you out. Just wanted to shout you out before we move along here with this podcast and go over the predictions and how this card just overall was. How we felt about it. But anyways, let's get into that. So can I get a menu? And so the first thing is with the preliminary card. I thought it was really cool. You got to see some brutal knockouts and some good submissions on this card, and it all started with the Kyle Dukakis defeating Gerald Mearskar. That was the main event of the early prelims, and man, you get some of these fighters like Gerald Mearskar. We'll talk about Beneil Dariush here later in the fight, later in the podcast. But man, you get these guys that just don't look like they need to be in there anymore. They were really going hard over one of Gerald Mearskar's coaches dying here recently, and that coach being almost like a father figure to him. But I mean, Mearskar, he's pushing 40 and has had 50 fights, and that seems to be like what he's used as here in the UFC. That he's still in the UFC is just kind of a stepping stone, a gatekeeper, a get back fight type of guy. And yeah, he got choked out at the 52nd mark of the first round. Barbaro choke, just got pushed up, got bullied by Kyle Dukakis, and just bullied up against the cage, and got his head and neck trapped in the Barbaro choke, and was done, submitted. It looked like he almost kind of passed out before the ref like started to check his hand, and then you just kind of saw his fingers kind of doing that, and they broke it up as a tap. But it was kind of weird, but not a very encouraging and impressive performance. Not a lot to go on there for Gerald Mearscard. Besides, maybe you need to turn in your retirement paper or lay your gloves down or something, because I just don't see too many championship opportunities in the future. But yeah, that was a great fight, or a good way to start off, uh, or in the early prelims, so the main event for the early prelims. So you got that, and then onto the standard preliminary card. Maybe the best fight on the card was a 2 day stand-in notice uh, for Malcolm Wellmaker. You had Ethan Ewing, who shout out another man named Ethan. Shout out to my brother and Ethan there, even though it's spelt weirdly. It's spelt Ethyn instead of Ethan, but still, it's pronounced the same. But yeah, he's got that Ethan Ewing. I guess he just fought like a week ago, and then was only like a 2 days notice for Malcolm Wellmaker, and I guess he'd knocked out the person that he fought like a week ago, but then only, like I said, just 2 day notice against Malcolm Wellmaker at featherweight. And I'll admit, it looked like Malcolm Wellmaker looked better in the first round or so, but Ethan Ewing just put it on him in the second and the third round. Just looked a little faster, a little punching a little bit harder, more successful with any type of takedown attempts, and he just kind of stole that fight away from Malcolm Wellmaker, who'd been training for a couple of months for a different fighter. But man, that was impressive for Ethan Ewing to come in there off of two days notice. Not like 2 weeks, but 2 days notice, and beat Malcolm Wellmaker by decision 30-27, 29-28, 29-28, and that was a 3 round, uh, 5 minute, 5 minute round fight there. So a 15-minute fight. So impressive, if nothing else, from Ethan Ewing, just the cardio and the stamina that he had and fighting on such short notice. But I guess it helps that he'd knocked someone out like a week ago. But yeah, so yeah, the early prelims start out pretty exciting with uh, a newcomer, UFC newcomer, probably looking for an actual fight contract that's got a couple more than just one fight on it now. I think he was trying to talk to Dana White after that. But anyway, so move on to a women's flyweight bout between Erin Blanchfield defeating Tracy Cortez, and it was just kind of the ending of this fight that was kind of cool. It was ended up being a submission rear naked choke win by Erin Blanchfield. But she had like the rear naked choke, like she was like off to the side, like almost had her like in a crucifix, but then had her like in the rear naked choke like at the same time. So that's what was kind of cool about that finish by Erin Blanchfield. She submitted her with a rear naked choke at the 444 mark of the second round. And then on to the one of the fights, maybe the fight or fighter that I was most intrigued about, or the most interested or excited about, because I was hoping to maybe get to see another like devastating knockout that kind of sends UFC fans, MMA fans, uh, to Twitter to say, oh, he shouldn't have beat him up that bad, or he shouldn't have knocked him out that bad, or the extra shots weren't necessary. I was wanting to see kind of what Gregory Rodriguez's kind of response to that would be. I would have loved to have seen him knock Roman Kopylov out like exactly the same way, but we didn't end up getting that. We ended up getting a win from Gregory Rodriguez, which is good for his future opportunities to see him knock people out. But it ended up just being a decision fight. It was a decision. Gregory Rodriguez, 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28, which I didn't I didn't really see that Roman Kopylov had won any of those rounds of that fight, and that was another 5 minute, 15-minute fight. And so we didn't get the brutal knockout. Like I'm questioning if the guy's dead after the knockout. We didn't get that from Gregory Rodriguez. Well, we didn't really have to wait long to see it and to see it 4 times in a row, actually. I guess you could say, yeah, next three of the next 4 fights are just three in a row. You got KO knockouts like not TKOs, but KO knockouts. But let's get into it, and let's get into probably the most devastating knockout of the night. Even though you, like I said, you're about to have four here in a row. But the main event of the preliminary card, you had middleweight Bo Nichols versus Rodolfo Vera, and this felt like this was like the correct kind of step down in competition for Bo Nichols because it seemed like he was kind of fighting out of his league, only in like his seventh fight and fighting against Renner de Ritter and just getting absolutely overwhelmed. It seemed like this Rollo Vera fight was definitely a better matchup for him. Definitely more his speed. Even though he was able to stay in it for 3 rounds with Bo Nichols. Yeah, two and a half rounds before he got knocked out. But Bo Nichols just looked faster and better, just slightly, just actually a decent amount better anywhere the fight went. And we know Bo Nichols for like his great wrestling and stuff, but he got it done striking, and majority of the fight kept it standing and showed improved striking from Bo Nichols. But yeah, about at the 2:24 mark of the third round, he landed a devastating head kick that Vieira like kind of leaned into, and then on top of that, it was one of those head kicks where it's not like towards like the bottom of the foot or like right in the middle of the shin, but it was almost like part of the shin and like the knee hit him when he KO'd him, and he just like just fell back like just like lifeless basically. And yeah, they showed him a couple times, and right after he'd fallen backwards, knocked out, but then they showed him even them trying to wake him up. They're patting him and stuff, trying to wake him up. Like there was maybe a minute there where I thought maybe he was dead. Vieira was dead. That Bo Nichols killed a guy almost. So we didn't get the brutal knockout that we were hoping for in the Gregory Rodriguez fight, but we got it in just the next fight from Bo Nichols. All right. So that's the prelims and the early prelims. Definitely was worth watching. There was some good fights and some good stoppages and kind of some stuff you'd never seen in with some of those submissions. Like Aaron Blanchfield fight. But yeah, the prelims were worth watching. So now let's get on to the main card here. So we got the main card, and this is where we made picks, pick the fighter, and then even pick the method. Not necessarily the round for the main card, but definitely picks and methods for these next 5 fights, which we didn't on any of the prelims and on the previous podcast. But let's get into the first fight on the card. This is the curtain jerker, and this is exactly what we were hoping for the curtain jerker. I was wanting a knockout, and it's a catch weight of 157.2 because Bernal Dariush missed weight for the first time in his career. So obviously he's never missed weight very often, but the thing that got me about him missing weight is, yeah, he misses weight by 1.2 pounds, but like just within, I swear, it seemed like within 10, 20 minutes after he missed weight, news came in that he wasn't going to try to cut any more weight. Like that just seemed kind of odd to me. That made me think like, does he feel that there's no possible way he could cut any more weight? Or is he sick? Or is he injured? So not obviously he didn't have a good weight cut. So had me very interesting, kind of side eyeing my opinion on Benel Dariush going in this fight, and just the fact seems like Benoit Saint Denis has been kind of undervalued, underranked, and just kind of overlooked and disrespected a little bit. And that's what we got. We got our KO for the curtain jerker, and it wasn't just a KO. It was a KO on punches, but it's the fact that it happened at 16 seconds of the first round, which I think is fifth or sixth quickest knockout in UFC history. But Benel Darius, the fight started out, he landed a good leg kick, and then that was about it. He landed a good leg kick, and then he then clinched up with Benoit Saint Denis, and Benoit Saint Denis landed like two short uppercuts, and then he came like over the top with like a looping right hand, and it was more like almost like a hammer fist on like the side of the head, like behind the ear, and that caused Benoit Saint Denis to just face plant. He just like face planted like right on his head, and what was like done. So that was like a great way to start off the card. On top of the fact I picked Benoit Saint Denis to get the win, but also to get the knockout. So it was just awesome how it started, and just the fact you got to see a super fast knockout. And I don't not a huge fan of catch weight fights, because one fighter can't make weight and things like that. But he got brutally knocked out, and he lost 20% of his purse, which that didn't seem a lot to me when I saw it. Oh, I'm looking here now. It says 25% of his purse. I swear the first time I saw it, it said just 20%, but still that doesn't seem that much. I've seen it. I'm pretty sure like in like some serious like title fights and stuff. I've seen it been like 40%. But anyways, alas. Okay, so on to the second fight on this card. On the main card, we had a welterweight bout between Carlos Prates versus Leon Edwards, and I originally predicted this to be a win by Carlos Prates and be by knockout. Didn't predict the specific round, but Carlos Prates uh, uh, ended up looking good in this fight. But Leon Edwards seemed like he kind of fell out of his game plan. I think Carlos Prates was talking trash to him, or doing some things that Leon Edwards didn't like. But Leon Edwards, like to a T, seemed like he played his game plan in the first round, because Leon Edwards won the first round. Uh, uh, by being just a little bit more technical in his striking, and then he was able to take Carlos Prates down, and about half of the round was able to just stay on his back. He had his triangles. He had his legs triangled together on his back for like half the round, and he was just kind of landing like a little pitter patter, nothing serious to try to finish him, but still enough to win the round. And Carlos Prates was kind of funny during the time he was getting hit with like the slight little dribbling from fist, like little hammer fist. He was just kind of laying there like towards like up against the cage, while Leon Edwards was on his back, and he's just kind of making like a funny face kind of. But but it seems like Carlos Prates throughout the fight was like talking trash and stuff, and then towards getting towards like the just the early portions of the first round. It was the second, a minute 28 of the second round. You saw Leon Edwards kind of like uh, swinging a little bit wildly and responding back to Carlos Prates a little bit, and then just a straight. I think it was a straight left, or a straight. No, it was a straight right, and Carlos Prates, his arms are so long, and it was like the original angle of it didn't look like it even hit Leon Edwards that hard. But I guess just because his arms are so long, that it was just a devastating shot. Like he hit him with it, like right on the jaw, like arm fully extended for the shot, and it sent like sent like Leon Edwards like kind of flying backwards, and the whiplash from him landing on his back probably hurt him as much as anything. And then Carlos Prates came in and got like one like kind of final shot before the ref broke it up. But Leon Edwards was already done from like a single shot. So we predicted that two in a row. We predicted the correct fighter and the method. I'd maybe feel a little bit better about these predictions if I even got the round right as well. But I mean, two for two and two in a row, I think is pretty good. And hey, Carlos Prates kind of like Ethan. We got some similarities. He's got his name is Ethan, and well, Carlos Prates. I mean. Uh, I think I'd smoke a butt with him. I think John Anik said that when they were talking about some parties and stuff, saying that his Carlos Prates' parties get so wild that hell, if you end up in one, he'll force you to smoke cigarettes. He'll make you smoke cigarettes. But hey, I'd smoke a butt with Carlos Prates, kind of like John Anik was saying. All right. So those are the first two fights. Great way to start off pay-per-view, getting some devastating knockouts. Now then, on to the third fight on the card. We had a bout between Michael Morales versus Sean Brady, and that fight kind of just like the last three, kind of ended similar, but ended up being TKO punches and not a straight up KO. He wasn't out cold, and that came at the 3:27 mark of the first round. And I had originally predicted that Sean Brady would actually win this fight. I was expecting him to have another performance, just because another uh, great performance, elite type of performance, like he did in his last couple fights. In his last fight against Leon Edwards, he looked like title worthy in the way he just absolutely dominated Leon Edwards in his previous fight. Yeah, it's March 22nd, 20, yeah, 2025, and that was at a fight night. So I was expecting a more impressive performance like that, and I was expecting Sean Brady to end up kind of wearing on Michael Morales, because that's the thing about Michael Morales. Almost all of his fights, and he's won like almost, yeah, he's 19-0 now, but like almost all of his fights and almost all of his wins happen like in the first round. So yeah, 14 of his 19 fights have been like first round KOs, I think. So I was thinking, yeah, Sean Brady, if he can just kind of wear on him and wrestle and take him down, even if he's able to get back up, take him down, make him use his energy, and then maybe if Sean Brady can get him late in the second round or in the third round, maybe he'll be able to get some type of submission, be able to get a hold of his neck. But we never got that. Michael Morales, just his length, his range. Sean Brady could never even get really close enough to land really hardly any punches, and really never even attempted a takedown. Maybe like once tried to, but then Michael Morales just kind of started overwhelming him, and then with punches and combinations, and then had him on the ropes like previous, and Sean Brady was kind of able to recover, but then he got him on the run again, and he ended up just dropping Sean Brady. He kind of just wilted with his back up against the cage, and Michael Morales got the knockout. So we were talking on the pre-show about thinking like in these two welterweight bouts leading up to the championship bout, we were thinking, oh, if Carlos Prates or Leon Edwards has an impressive victory, or Michael Morales or Sean Brady has an impressive victory, then maybe one of them will be the next title contender. But man, I don't know who to single out, or who deserves it more between Carlos Prates and Michael Morales, because that was just impressive uh, fights, and more newer. I wouldn't say necessarily really like younger. I think because Carlos Prates is only like 2 years younger than Leon Edwards, but newer prospects making a name for themselves, and putting themselves definitely in line for the next title shot. Or I think I said this on the pre show podcast, was that maybe they should fight each other now. Like that would be exciting. We would hope for some fireworks in that. Like I would expect someone to get knocked out there. But yeah, Michael Morales, very worthy, and Carlos Prata is very worthy of the next welterweight title opportunity. All right, so now then on to the co-main event, the main events here. We're getting to the title bouts. So we're on to the co-main event, flyweight, a women's flyweight championship bout between Valentina Shevchenko, the champion, versus Zhang Weili, the challenger. And these were considered super fights because we had champions from the smaller weight classes coming up. So you had Zhang Weili coming up from the straw weight. And I didn't know if this was kind of like a cop out prediction for this because you got Zhang Weili and then you even got Islam Makhachev like coming up from a smaller weight division. Like I kind of made that prediction like on both title fights that I think that the weight change and coming up in weight and coming up in size will end up affecting them a lot more than expected. So I expected Valentina Shevchenko to win this fight by unanimous decision, not necessarily unanimous, but decision, and that's what ended up happening. She ended up winning by decision, unanimous, 50-45, 50-45, 50-45. So unanimous, a 5 minute 25-minute fight. And yeah, that's actually exactly what we got was this Valentina Shevchenko was just bigger than Zhang Weili to the point like when they were striking, it just seemed like Zhang Weili's like arms just weren't long enough to land any punches or weren't long enough to be able to like get a hold of her and try to take her down or have the range to even hit Valentina Shevchenko. And on the same opposite, Valentina Shevchenko was hitting Zhang Weili with all the strikes and combinations, but she was able to take her down pretty much at will, which most of it was stand up, like in the first round. But then Valentina Shevchenko took Zhang Weili down towards the end of the first round and had her in a crucifix and was trying to get her in a rear naked and a head and arm triangle chokes, but didn't try like too hard to finish her with any of those. But then in the like the third, fourth, no second, third, and fourth round, the remainder of the fight, she was pretty quick, a little quicker in the remaining rounds to take Zhang Weili down and just pretty much hold her there. Like Zhang Weili couldn't do anything about it. It was kind of going back and forth from like side control, half guard, and having her in a crucifix and just beating her up. But never came too close to finishing her with a submission or really getting her on the ropes with any strikes. So even though it was pretty dominant and seemed really dominant at times, uh, just it's kind of slightly surprised that there wasn't any 10-8 rounds, but I understand it. She wasn't never, Zhang Wei Li was tough and never really was all that close to getting finished. And yeah, so that was something that was kind of interesting after the fight. So they interviewed Valentina Shevchenko, of course, because she's a champion and she retained her belt. But they also interviewed Zhang Wei Li, even though she lost it. But I guess they're still giving her some credit because she is the former strawweight champion. But had to ask them multiple times. I think it was Joe Rogan asked her like multiple times to if she was gonna stay at flyweight or if she was gonna go back down to strawweight and try to like get her belt back. And she just gave like long answers with answering the question without answering the question, basically, and just basically said that she was going to take some time off. But that sounds like a fighter that definitely probably going to go back down to strawweight. I don't see any point in staying at flyweight if you can't win the title. And from what I see, and then you have like pretty much no shot, not even a puncher's chance really with how dominant Valentina Shevchenko was in that fight. She hardly got hit. So we predicted that one. We picked the fighter Valentina Shevchenko to retain, but we also got the decision right as well. So I guess you could almost count that as getting the fighter, the method, and the time because we predicted out the decision. So we've done pretty good on this card with predictions, and it's going to end up being 3 of 2. But us go ahead and get to the main event now. So now then, on to the fifth fight on the main card, the main event of UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev, and this is branded V Chain UFC 322. So we had welterweight championship bout between Jack Della Maddalena, the champion, versus Islam Makhachev, the challenger. And I was coming from the same type of angle that I was in the women's championship, flyweight championship bout. That I just felt Jack Della Maddalena, he's going to be too big for Islam Makhachev, and he's going to be able to keep the fight where he wants it, whether that's standing or on the ground, and he's just has better boxing than Islam Makhachev. Well, that turned out to be completely opposite of what the case was, and pretty much we had like the exact same fight, but in the men's welterweight, but it was the challenger doing it to the champion. So had yeah, Islam Makhachev had his basically like his Valentina Shevchenko like moment fight over Jack Della Maddalena because Islam Makhachev was looked really didn't look small against Jack Della Maddalena. I actually thought he looked kind of like he wasn't as cut obviously as he was at lightweight, but he looked like he even had a little pudginess to him, but obviously didn't affect him with his cardio or his strength or anything like that. But the thing that was kind of amazing to me was obviously Islam Makhachev was able to control like wherever the fight went, but even like the times that they were standing and obviously the fight start with them standing, his striking was better than Jack Della Maddalena. And you know, he had a classic Joe Rogan fight where it started like in the third round. He was talking about how he thought Jack Della Maddalena's like uh, calf had a calf injury or wasn't able to handle the calf kicks or something like that. And they were talking about him having like when he was wrestling and on the ground with Islam Makhachev that he had like this grimace on his face, like he was like in real pain. But it's funny that they mentioned that because I think I noticed that like in the first or the in the second round he was already doing that like anytime they were rolling around. But I'm not sure if that's just a mean mug from from Jack Della Maddalena or if he was in pain grimacing or if he's just an ugly some bitch. I think it could be any of those honestly. But yeah, he ended up getting dominated just in the exact same fashion, and there was only maybe like one moment where he like landed like a decent strike on Islam Makhachev, but for the most part, it was just the men's welterweight version of the women's flyweight championship bout. Islam Makhachev controlling pretty much wherever the fight went, even was better, seemed better in the striking game, and had a couple like what looked like kind of like a reversed guillotine or like where he's like kind of like putting like this part of his like his back of his uh tricep like kind of like behind the head and then kind of like a front choke that looked similar to a Barbaro choke, which he won his last 2 fights, I believe, with a submission Barbaro choke, but never came really close to finishing Dak Della Maddalena, even though like I said, the grimace on his face looked like he was going through on, but never came close to really getting a submission or finishing with him with any strike standing or any type of like serious ground and pound. So I picked Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight by decision, thinking that he was going to be too big for Islam Makhachev. Like if he took him down, he was going to be able to get back up, or he would be able to stuff his takedowns. But there was really none of that. It was kind of funny. It seemed like the first 3 rounds, like almost yeah, 3 or 4 rounds in the fight, he would Islam Makhachev would take Jack Della Maddalena down and pretty much hold him down like for the entire fight, and you really didn't see much effort from Jack Della Maddalena to try to get back up or scramble or really do anything. He just kind of lay there, and then it seemed like when they did the 10-second clappers, at least in at the end of like three of those rounds, Jack Della Maddalena was able to get back up. But it's like, what's the point at this point? So he just wasn't able to get back up or stuff anything that Islam Makhachev was throwing his way. So it ended up predicted it was going to be a decision fight, but not for the fighter I predicted. But yeah, it ended up being a decision unanimous 50-45, 50-45, and 50-45. Islam Makhachev is your new welterweight champion, and that was another 5 minute, 5 minute rounds, 25-minute fight, and impressive, an impressive showing. And I said 50-45, 50-45, 50-45, kind of similar. It was very dominant performance by Islam Makhachev, and kind of similar to the women's flyweight championship bout. Like it seemed so dominant at times. I'm a little surprised that there wasn't a 10-8 round kind of thrown in there. But like I said, in the women's fight, seeing there really weren't any moments where he was super close to getting him in a submission or was real vicious with any of the ground and pound, but still impressive and very dominant performance by Islam Makhachev, and definitely did not seem as if the weight change or the weight class change affected him at all. Even though it's funny because I think you got Ilya Tapora back down at lightweight talking trash. I wouldn't mind seeing Islam Makhachev go back down to lightweight and fighting him. But anyway, so that's UFC 322. UFC 322, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. And like we said, branded V-Chain UFC 322. And it was a good card. I think it lived up to its billing, but I don't think it was overly. It wasn't like greater than people expected. It was what I expected. It was what I was expected to see. It's depending on how long you've been watching UFC and mixed martial arts, these grind out 5 minute, 25 minute round fights, 5 rounds end up going unanimous decision, and you got them 50-45, where it doesn't seem like the other fighter ever has a chance or ever wins a round. It seems they're kind of, to some fans, I guess you could say, they're boring, but you gotta respect the just outright dominant performance that you're getting from fighters like Valentina Shevchenko and Islam Makhachev. Like they're doing something. Their opponent can't do anything about it. So can't say it wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't as exciting as the three knockouts, or no, four knockouts that we had in a row. So that leaves you a little like unexpected kind of ending, or kind of anticlimactic. That's the word I was looking for. It's kind of an anticlimactic uh, into UFC 322 with the just two straight 25-minute just absolute dominations of unanimous decisions. But it could have been worse. At least we didn't get an eye poke that ended a title fight, and we just got the champion stay the same. But anyway, so let's get to the bonus awards here, and let's get out of here. So we got the fighter bonuses. So there ended up not being a fight of the night, and that was kind of something I was trying to get into when talking about the preliminary cards. So if there was a fight of the night, or the most competitive fight back and forth, and it seems like, yeah, it was one of the few fights where it was ranked. Uh, it was a decision fight, so it was competitive, but you actually had some 29-28, 29-28s, and then the 30-27 to start that out. But you actually had it look like it was a competitive matchup, because there was a lot of domination, even through some decision fights, but definitely you had some knockouts and submissions in there as well. But you didn't end up having a fight night, so that kind of leaves you like cheesing a little, grinning a little bit, kind of thinking like that. Yeah, maybe the card could have been a little bit better if you had some uh, crazy brawl. But maybe they had the Dilla Danis brawl in the crowd before the fight, any of the fights started. Maybe that would have been the fight of the night. But we just didn't get a fight of the night. But like I said, if I was going to give it to one, it would definitely be the Ethan Ewing versus Malcolm Wellmaker fight. But we did get those performances of the night, and I think we got them four in a row. Like we that moment on the card where we got the four KOs in a row. So Bo Nichols got a performance of the night. Benoit Saint Denis got a performance of the night. Carlos Prates got a performance of the night, and Michael Morales got performance of the night. Four in a row, four knockouts in a row. So that was impressive. So maybe didn't get a great war back and forth competitive war on that night, but we got the brutal knockouts and KOs and KOs, not all TKOs, but KOs. So we got what we wanted in that regard. All right, so that's UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev. So what we have coming up for the last pay-per-view on the card, December 6th, we have UFC 323, Marab Dashwili versus uh, Peter Yan in the bantamweight championship bout. Seems like Marab Dashwili just fought, uh, and then so that's one title fight, but there's two of them, smaller weight classes, but still it's nice to have some championship fights on a pay-per-view card. I think it's almost necessary that pay-per-view card, a numbered card, should have at least two titles defended. But you have the flyweight championship bout on the line for Alexander Pantoja, the champion, versus Joshua Vaughn. Like saying that Marab Willie Phil Josh Willie feels like Pantoja just fought, and then you have uh, Jan Blachowicz and Brandon Moreno and Henry Cejudo, Marvin Vittori, Edson Barbosa, Macy Barber. There's some notable names on the card, but just we'll have to see how it kind of formulates in the next 3 weeks or so. But just from a distance, a look from the distance, can't see where it would be better than UFC 322. But anyways, the fights cards and fights can be great. You can have a ton of no-name fighters on a card and it'd be better than UFC 300 or your next 100th card, UFC 400. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you for UFC 322. So that's the prediction show, and like I said, I think that's about all I have for you. So can I get a check, please?